Hello dear friends, welcome back. Welcome back to Top Lesson for you dear friends. We know that we are discussing about the pubic bone, right? So we have discussed about the ilium, we have discussed about the pubis, and we have already discussed about the theory of the ischial bone. Now we will discuss the ischial bone and its important landmarks and markings. So let us start our lecture. Let us begin. First of all, look carefully. This is a hip bone, right? This is totally hip bone, and this hip bone, we know that it is made up of three bones: the ilium superiorly, the largest one, right, and the flat one, right, the pubis inferiorly, and the ischium posterior-inferiorly, right friends? So pubis, ischium, and ilium, right? We have discussed about these two. Now let us know about the important markings of this pubic bone. You know, pubic bone is I'm holding the pubic bone in my hand actually, right? So this, ischial bone. So this is pubic bone, this is ilium. Now look carefully. We had said that in the lecture regarding the theory of this bone, we had said that this bone is actually composed of two important parts. One is the body, right? The body of the ischial bone, and one is the conjoined ischiopubic ramus. Conjoined ischiopubic ramus and the body, right? Now look, actually its body was discussed under three titles. The first one was ends, the second one was borders, and the third one was surfaces, right? So first of all, we should know that the body of the ischial bone has two ends, one upper end and one lower end. It's quite easy, lower end and upper end. Now I have told you that the upper end of this ischial bone, right, helps in the formation of the acetabular fossa or acetabulum, the lower two-fifth of it, right? So once again, the upper part or the upper end of the ischial bone, right, unites with the acetabular part of ilium and acetabular part of pubis and completes the circle of the acetabulum. So this lower part, right, this lower part is actually the part of the upper end of ischial bone, right, and this is the lower end. So the lower end is a little bit rough in nature, right? It has a little bit roughness, and this is called the ischial tuberosity, right? So we say the upper end makes the acetabular fossa, the two-fifth of it, and the lower end gives rise to the ischial tuberosity, right friends? And then it also has a very important point. This is called the ischial spine, right? Ischial spine. So we will discuss in the next lecture. I will completely cover whole this bone, all the three bones in one shot. Inshallah, we will discuss each. We will point out each part of it. Don't worry, in the next lecture. So if you guys watch the lectures 2 or 3 times, you will learn this complicated. It is the most complicated bone, and one other also complicated bone is there, which is called the sphenoid bone. So we will discuss that also. So what do we want to say? We say that this ischial bone is discussed under two titles. The first one is the body, and the second one is the conjoined ischiopubic ramus. The body is discussed under three titles. First, the ends, two ends, right? Second one, borders. It has three borders. Now look, if I hold this ischial bone in its perspective position, in its own position, right? So look carefully. Here is one border, right, which is towards the obturator foramen, this border, right? This is called the anterior border, right? Then here is another border. Look, this border, right? If you can see here, this border, this whole border is called the posterior border. So it's quite easy. How many borders? Anterior border, posterior border, and one is lateral border. Here we have the lateral border. So how many borders it has? It has three borders: the anterior border, the posterior border, and the lateral border. That's quite nice. And how many surfaces it has? It has three surfaces. What are those? Look carefully. If we hold it like this, right? So here will be another hip bone, right? So this surface, look carefully, this surface, here will be hanging your femur bone, right? So here is your femur bone actually. Now this surface is pointing towards the femur. That's why we say that this surface is called the femoral surface. Isn't it easy? Femoral surface, right? Then if you follow my finger, this surface, right, internal surface, this is called the pelvic surface because this surface is towards the pelvic cavity. Here is your pelvic cavity, right? And this surface, I'm talking about this surface, this is the pelvic surface, this is the femoral surface, right? So femoral surface and pelvic surface, and then there is another surface, this one, this is called the dorsal surface. So how many surfaces it has? It has 3 surfaces. I'm talking about the body of the ischial bone, femoral surface, pelvic surface, and dorsal surface, right friends? So body has upper and lower end, right? 3 borders, anterior border, next one is posterior border, next one is lateral border, and 3 surfaces, femoral surface, pelvic surface, and dorsal surface. So these were some important points. Now let's move further down towards the ischiopubic ramus. Now if you follow these marker, look my friends, here up to here there was the ramus of your inferior ramus of pubic bone, right, with this black color. This is inferior ramus of pubic bone. This is pubic bone. Now here we have the ramus of, here is the ramus of, which I will draw with the red color. This is the ramus of ischial bone, right? Now both of them unite here and they make conjoined ischiopubic ramus, right? So this part is ischiopubic ramus. Now this ischiopubic ramus has some important markings, and what are those? First of all, it has 2 borders, right? It has 2 borders. There is the upper border or obturator border, right, towards the obturator foramen. That's why we said this is the upper border. And here is the lower border. So how many borders? The ischiopubic ramus has? It has an upper border and it has a lower border. And how many surfaces it has? Surfaces. So look, here is one surface and here is one surface. So there is the outer surface and there is the inner surface, or you can call it the femoral surface and pelvic surface. So we don't call it femoral and pelvic because here we have in the body we have femoral surface and pelvic surface. So there will be confusion. That's why we said this is the outer surface and this is the inner surface. Why I'm explaining these? Because they have some important attachments of muscles and ligaments to it that we will discuss later. Right? So this is outer surface, this is inner surface. Now this outer surface, right, if I erase this color and draw some other important markings, look here. This outer surface has 2 important ridges. It has 2 ridges, and due to these ridges, this outer surface is divided into 3 parts. Outer surface has 2 ridges, and these ridges divide the outer surface into 3 important regions: the lower region, the middle region, and the upper region. Why it is important? Because it has certain attachment of muscles and ligaments to it, right? We will discuss later. So we discussed the iliac bone, pubic bone, and let's recap it firstly. Actually the ischial bone is actually lying posterior inferiorly to the iliac bone, right? It is discussed under 2 titles. First one, the body, and the second one is the conjoined ischiopubic ramus, right? The body has 2 ends, 3 borders, and 3 surfaces. The upper end matches the acetabular fossa with the union of the ischium and pubic and iliac bone, and the lower border gives rise to the ischial tuberosity, right friends? Then it has 3 borders: anterior border, right, posterior border, and lateral border. right? If you hold it like the bone like this is anterior border, this is posterior border, right? This is whole is posterior border, and then there is the lateral border. Actually, this posterior border is formed by, it is formed by the posterior inferior iliac spine, the greater sciatic notch, the ischial spine, right? This is ischial spine, right, friends? Now it has three surfaces. What are those? First, the femoral surface, second, pelvic surface, and dorsal surface, right? The dorsal surface, the femoral surface, and the pelvic surface. Then let's come to the ischiopubic ramus. This ischiopubic ramus has two borders, upper border and lower border, right? It has two surfaces, inner surface and outer surface. The outer surface has two ridges, and due to those ridges, the outer surface is divided into three parts: the upper part, the middle part, and the lower part, which I told you, right? Friends, this was about the practical video of the ischial bone. Inshallah, in the next lecture, I will cover the whole bone, right? The whole bone which we learned up to now. We will cover it in one shot, inshallah, and we will begin from the ilium upper part, and we will come up to this lower part, and we will show you all those important markings which this bone has, right? So see you in the next lecture. Till then, Allah Hafiz.